That would be why. Of course, you plug things in and things get all different. So, of course, yeah. So this is what happens when you don't have a show for a day. This is what happens when you have to unplug everything. You throw it up into the kitchen. Then you come back down and you think things are plugged in when they're really not. And so now, thank you, Abby, for telling me that things weren't responding. Everything is apparently plugged back in the way it's supposed to. Everything is powered up the way it's supposed to. And so, welcome to Thursday. I will always have issues with technology. The last 2 days have been no different. About 20 minutes after the show was over yesterday, everything came back online, of course. And so that meant that yesterday, if you could decipher a word that I was saying, it was a great conversation that we had with Mark Spiegel, Innovation Capital, the owners of Querétaro and Liga MX. And I have pretty much told Mark that we're going to have him back, but we wanted to do a sit down with him about what's going on at Querétaro as U.S. owners. And then Dylan put up with us. And then it was at 10:30, it was Noe DeMo, the Golden Glove winner in the NPSL this season from Bristol Rhythm AFC. And you'll remember that a couple seasons ago when they came online, we would catch up with Diane Smith, their owner, and we would find out what it's like for them to be a part of what's going on and growing pains and all that kind of stuff. And those growing pains have turned into a chance at a national title. They're taking on El Farolito, and we're going to hopefully hear from them when they get settled in, I think, tomorrow. So we'll catch up with them as they get closer to the repeat that they're chasing in the NPSL. So that's yesterday. Today, obviously, we're going to get you caught up on things. There's some things going on in the Premier League you need to know about. There's a story out of USL Championship you need to know about, and thank you, Ricky, for the heads up. And then probably early next week, we'll try and effort some of the principals out of the Northeast on this. And then, obviously, hour number 2 is the Power Hour with Nino and Nico, where we're going to tour the planet, take South America, get ready for Portugal, come back with Major League Soccer, and we'll catch up with Niko Moreno. We've got your highlights from last night's All-Star game that we've got to get into as a part of all of this as well. So there's plenty to get into. We got to talk WAFCON because there was a big upset there yesterday. And all of the things that are attached to what's going on here on the planet. We'll get you ready for anything and everything that's going on today here on a Thursday, and obviously just let you know. Yeah, Ricky, we're going to get into that. Ricky was the one who, in his intrepid producerness, let us know about Kawhi Leonard and the continuing adventures of Kawhi Leonard. For those of you that may not know, and I was trying to figure out what was going to be opening kickoff this morning, and I thought it was going to be Eddie Howe. And I think it has evolved into now what we're going to talk about in a second. And this is literally going to be the greatest hits because there's a lot to get into. And Abby, I actually had friends who were in the Bronx at the 110 by 68 that were there at the match last night because they're big Liverpool supporters. And it was a late goal by Liverpool to get the win over Wrexham. I imagine the place was pretty jammed, but Wrexham over here, and I know that they're trying to get promoted and everything. So literally it is an EFL championship team going up against a Premier League powerhouse. 1-0 win in the Bronx last night. And that's the other thing is that you're going to have to, with opening kickoff here, and this is the PSA basically. Pablo Torres has done some really good work at in independent journalism these days, which is becoming tougher and tougher and tougher for obvious reasons. But he has done some fantastic work on Kawhi Leonard, and he has been a bulldog on the story. And so yesterday it came out about ties to Rhode Island FC. And so that's what we'll get into here with opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee, blackpitchcoffee.com. Starting your day with the most important stories in the game, the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community. And it is showing up at events all over Atlanta, trying their home blend made with beans with Brazil and Guatemala, heavy body, notes of walnut, semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff, powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com from the return of the Kaiser Permanente Studios. So yesterday, WPRI TV in Providence, Rhode Island, they had a super story, and they're going to have more tonight at 6 o'clock. Kawhi Leonard, according to WPRI, and this was a partnership with Pablo Torre finds out, and Hunter Brook, 10-month investigation by WPRI TV. Leonard and his inner circle embedding themselves as investors in Rhode Island Football Club as they were once again trying to, and this is the words from PRI, navigate the collapse of a multi-million-dollar endorsement deal 2,500 miles away. In an interview, RIFC founder Brett Johnson of Fortuitous Partners confirmed the involvement of the Clippers small forward, along with Leonard's uncle, Dennis Robertson, and his former agent, Mitch Frankel. Johnson told Target 12 in March, Kawhi Leonard's a friend. He did not go on camera for this interview, but he was recorded. Described them as small investors in the club. They became involved at the same time that Johnson was struggling to get private financing to move ahead with the construction of Tidewater Landing. 10,000-seater, $130 million to build. PRI, quote, the previously undisclosed role of Leonard underscores how little has been known about who is backing the stadium deal, even with tens of millions in taxpayer funds on the line. Rhode Island FC has never publicly disclosed the identities of its full ownership group. Johnson, quote, the main owner, we're blessed with an incredible investor group, but there's a lot of reasons why we keep it very close to the vest. And that is understandable. Representatives for Leonard did not respond to requests for comment before the deadline for the report on Wednesday. Neither did Robertson or Frankel. And then news of the involvement of Leonard stunned those even closest to the project, including elected officials, public officials, consultants tasked with reviewing, approving, and executing the stadium deal. Pawtucket Mayor Don Grebian about Leonard, quote, if I were them, I'd be shouting it because of the positivity it brings to the organization. Grebian, who provided critical political support to get the stadium built in the city, said he didn't know about the superstars' involvement until WPRI asked him about it. Even some of Rhode Island's top officials appeared unaware of who was funding the soccer club. That includes Governor Dan McKee, who has been a stalwart supporter of Rhode Island FC, cast a tie-breaking vote in favor of public subsidies for the stadium back in 22. Back in October, on an economic development trip to the West Coast, McKee joined Johnson at the Clippers' home opener at LA's Intuit Dome, watching Leonard score 27 points. And as a Clipper fan, I'm going to hold my first thoughts for a second. In a recent interview with Target 12, WPRI TV, McKee said he couldn't recall what was discussed at a game. When asked if he knew whether Leonard was an investor in Rhode Island FC, McKee said not really, meaning if he knew, not really. Though he also said, I knew there were some players that were involved in it. Pressed on whether he knew about Leonard's involvement, he said, quote, I would have to go back and look at that. Governor also said he's never met Leonard, though, quote, he was on my fantasy basketball team this year, end quote. As for how he wound up at a Clippers game, McKee said, I invited myself. His ticket was purchased by a Spanish sports marketing company called 380 AMK, but McKee said he reimbursed the cost. He declined to provide a copy of the receipt. 380 AMK did not respond to a request for comment on Wednesday. And so if you were to look up 380 AMK through the World Wide Web, 380 AMK, sports consultants, marketing, and representation. And it's translated because it is a Spanish website. So representation, their representation of athletes. Paredes from Barcelona, Fran Gonzalez from Real Madrid, Jose Angel Carmona from Sevilla, Santi Migueles from Oviedo, Miguel Capitas from Sevilla, Curo Navarro from Atletico de Madrid. And these are younger players. So they view the younger players as talents. They do not view them as athletes yet. Real Betis, Sevilla. Other than the other clients that they have worked with included Iker Casillas, Roberto Carlos after his career was over, Gareth Bale through Robots, Miguel Torres after his career was over, Diego Simeone. They claimed other clients we've worked with, Tony Kroos they've worked with in the past, then Xavi Hernandez. So the agency itself helping brands differentiate themselves in the industry, seeking a different way of working within the sector from plan strategy to execution. Digital marketing, branding, networking, audiovisual, trending and events, and communications with ideas. Communication management, community building, media relations with specialists, coordinations of media agencies, PR, and branded content. And so then you get the full Monty of their ideas. Once again, communications and such, success stories that they claim. Galan, PPA, Paredes, 1K Soccer Club, and Adidas Runners Iberia. Just to give you an example about 380 AMK. And then Kawhi Leonard once again. Russell Westbrook linked to Oklahoma City. Marshawn Lynch had been linked to Oakland Roots. We've got an Oakland Roots update. Unclear if Leonard has ever stepped foot in the stadium he partly owns, WPRI continues. No public record of him ever attending a game at Pawtucket. Never appeared in the team's promotional materials. For comparison, and Ricky brings this up, former NBA player Daniel Teese had joined the ownership group in March of 23. Squad keeps getting stronger and taller, that the team wrote on Twitter. Teese, who had previously played center for the Celtics, was with Indiana at the time, briefly became Leonard's teammate when he signed with the Clippers in November 23. Teese, who is now playing in Europe, declined comment through a spokesperson for the club that he is currently playing for. Johnson defended the decision to protect his investors' confidentiality, saying such disclosure is, quote, atypical from a capital raising perspective. Projected comparisons to athletes who've taken more visible roles with clubs. Quoting Johnson again, if someone is an investor, they want to make it known, they're welcome to do that. But a lot of them should be applauded relative to what they're doing to help create jobs and create something that has been game-changing in the state. Johnson also said no one affiliated with the Clippers was involved with his team. And so then going back to everything that Pablo Torre has been investigating early, same time Leonard was playing the role, an undisclosed role in the Rhode Island Stadium development business dealings drawing scrutiny elsewhere in 23, Clippers ending a sponsorship deal with environmental startup Aspiration Partners. Whistleblowers told federal investigators an now bankrupt firm had been used by Steve Ballmer, the owner of the Clippers, quote, to pay Clippers forward Kawhi Leonard an incentivized bonus to circumvent the NBA's salary cap disguised as an organic marketing sponsorship agreement, according to the copy of the complaint obtained by Pablo Torre. The no-show deal, first reported by Torre, spurred Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, to launch an internal investigation into potential salary cap violations. The investigation remains open and has halted a trade that would send Leonard to the Raptors. Aspirations investors are also suing Ballmer over allegations in Los Angeles, and The Athletic reported earlier this month the scope of the investigation had expanded to examine an endorsement deal Leonard had with a second company. Clippers-Raptors deal involving Leonard remains in limbo. Scrutiny of the aspiration deal went far beyond basketball. This June, co-founder Joseph Sandberg was sentenced to 14 years in federal prison after pleading guilty to 2 counts of wire fraud tied to a $248 million fraud scheme. Bankruptcy filings showed Leonard was owed money from aspiration through his holding company, KL2 Aspire, LLC, KL number 2. Leonard held the agreement with aspiration while associates Robertson and Frankel helped facilitate the deal, according to Pablo Torres. As aspiration was failing, the same figures quietly began forming a new business relationship tied to Rhode Island FC. In January 24, Leonard and Robertson incorporated 2 entities, KL and the number 2, RIFC Real Estate LLC, and KL the number 2, RIFC LLC in California, linking them to the club. Last fall, Robertson formed another entity, DRR, David R. Robertson, RIFC Real Estate LLC in Florida, adding to a web of companies tied to Leonard and his inner circle, whose roles in club's finances remain unclear. Once again, all this is from WPRI-TV in Providence. Soccer team declined to disclose how much of the club the 3 men own. Quoting Thomas Coughlin from the club, Rhode Island FC's policy is to maintain the confidentiality of individual investor holdings. Accordingly, Rhode Island FC does not comment on specific investor stakes, valuations, or shareholdings beyond information that has already been made public. In his interview with PRI, Johnson suggested their investment is about more than the team and stadium. Quote, they're particularly interested in real estate, finding ways to invest in housing, particularly in low-income areas. In Pawtucket, however, according to WPRI, housing is yet to materialize. When the stadium project was unveiled in 2019, Johnson promised broader development that would include a hotel and hundreds of housing units across the Seekonk River. State officials initially said public subsidies would be limited to the housing component, a stance they later reversed as stadium costs climbed. McKee's tie-breaking vote in 22 diverted $27 million away from housing and into the stadium. Since then, Fortuitous has partnered with other developers in pursuit of additional taxpayer-backed subsidies, according to WPRI, for the long-promised housing. Their plans, touted as about 400 market-rate and affordable housing units, have received local approvals and new tax deals. They've applied for more taxpayer subsidies through RI Housing, but completed units remain years away from materializing. Johnson says, quote, Kawhi is very interested in using his capital to make a change in communities, and housing is what's very important to him, end quote. The identities of other investors remain undisclosed, leaving unanswered questions about who else helped finance one of Rhode Island's most heavily subsidized developments in recent years. In the end, taxpayers backed $60 million in bonds, delivering $27 million in public support for the stadium. They'll spend nearly $117 million over the next 3 decades to pay it back, according to updated estimates following a refinancing deal in December. In 2024, Bloomberg News called the original bond deal eye-popping, in quotation marks, writing, quote, taxpayers are paying dearly to bring a pro sports team back to the faded industrial city of Pawtucket, Rhode Island, end quote. And so part 2 of this from WPRI is coming out tonight in their 6 o'clock news report. And so obviously we'll keep an eye on this, but you would never have anticipated that this is about as random as it gets, that you would have these 2 elements tied together. And the one thing that stuck out to me, and it is the cynicism that is attached to being a Clippers fan, is that the governor actually wanted to go see the Clippers play. Really? It's like, yeah, I just wanted to go see. I'm gonna buy a ticket to go see the Clippers play. Really? You're that hardcore, huh? You want to go see a guy on your fantasy team? Like I said, I'm a Clippers fan, and I'm asking this as a Clippers fan. You really wanted to just go see the Clippers? You want to fly out to LA? You didn't want to go see the Lakers? It's all the, you didn't want to go see LeBron. But since you couldn't get tickets to go see LeBron, you wanted to get tickets to the Intuit Dome to see the new dome and go see the Clippers? Like I said, I'm just asking this as a Clippers fan. You really want to go see the Clippers? Okay. All right. So that's the news out of WPRI. Part 1 of 2 in a series. Like I said, we probably will be efforting something out of Providence with PRI and find out what they've also discovered and what's been on the cutting room floor and all that other kind of stuff. And we'll see if we can get answers on this as we go forward. So that's opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Starting your day with the most important stories in the game. Right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta, trying their home blend made with beans from Brazil, Guatemala, heavy body, notes of walnut, semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff, powered by Black Pitch Coffee, blackpitchcoffee.com. Okay, here's the other news of the day. And I had not anticipated this under any auspice at all. Eddie Howe out at Newcastle. Keith Downey, Sky Sports News.
We haven't had any word from the club yet. When do you think we can expect to hear more from them and their thinking?
Yeah, look, Joe, I think we'll hear today. Look, I think it is imminent. I've spoken to the club just before I came on air here, and they didn't know that yet themselves. Things have moved very quickly overnight. As you said in the intro, it is a bombshell story, I think, given the timing of it. And look, honestly, earlier on in this summer, there was a lot of managers available. There was a manager merry-go-round, really. We see the likes of Manchester City and Chelsea and Liverpool all getting new managers, and there was a number of managers available. The pond that Newcastle are fishing in right now isn't quite as big as what it was earlier this summer, so that will make it difficult for them. But I would expect some kind of clarity from the football club very soon, whether it's just when I come off this live or in the next couple of hours. They are going to have to say something, but that is our understanding that Eddie Howe has parted terms with the club. Resignation as such, it is his decision, but the club reluctantly are in a mutual agreement that the time has come for a change.
So what names then, Keith, are going to be linked with this job? Who is going to come in and succeed Howe at Newcastle?
Yeah, well, what we've been told this morning is that the 38-year-old German Matthias Jesle of Al Ahly over in Saudi Arabia is in advanced negotiations with Newcastle about replacing Eddie Howe. So, look, not too much is known about him. It will be a big change for him moving from there to the UK and to the Premier League to manage. But we are told that a move for him is in the pipeline, and perhaps that is why this news broke this morning and has been accelerated in the last 12 hours since Newcastle played that friendly last night. So he is the name in the frame. He is the man we expect to take over. It'll be interesting to see if they manage to announce it before or whether it's when Newcastle are on their pre-season trip to La Manga, the trip that they fly out on tomorrow. I'm told that there was also discussions with Kieran McKenna, the former Ipswich manager. Remember, he's just left to take some time out himself, so there was also talks with him and also with Antonio Conte, the former Chelsea and Tottenham manager. So look, a couple of big names mentioned there. But it appears as though Jesle is the man that Newcastle will bring in to replace Eddie Howe. So a big change in terms of, I guess, his style, his persona, and his nationality as well. So we will wait further instructions in that one. But from everything I'm hearing, it sounds as though he is the man who is set to replace Eddie Howe after nearly 5 years here on Tyneside.
And it is Jesle who has been linked, and everything seems to be progressing to his appointment. Jesle right now is ATLUTD. And with Eddie Howe, he had decided to remain at St. James at the end of last season. Now, apparently, after 5 years in charge, a couple weeks before the regular season starts, he's had a change of heart and he wants to take time away from football. First trophy in 70 years with the 2025 Carabao Cup. Told the club he wants to take a break. Situation regarded, according to David Ornstein, as amicable. Newcastle well prepared for the exit. Jesle is a two-time Asian Champions League winner with ATLUTD, who once again are owned by the PIF, the Public Investment Fund. And he spent his entire playing career with Hoffenheim, coached at Red Bull Salzburg for 2 seasons, and won back-to-back Austrian Bundesliga titles and the Austrian Cup. Joined ATLUTD in 23, led them to consecutive Asian Champions League crowns in 25 and 26. A high-intensity attacking football. He is a Ralph Rangnick disciple, so that should make Nick very happy. Eddie Howe appointed November of 21, succeeding Steve Bruce when Newcastle were 19th in the Premier League. And this was shortly after the consortium led by the PIF completed their takeover of the club, got them safe. Fourth place finish in 22-23, Champions League qualification, top 5 placing 2 seasons later, also winning their first domestic trophy since 1955. Newcastle finished 12th last year, exited Champions League in the last 16, 8-3 aggregate defeat to Barcelona. From January 7th, they won just 5 of 17 league games, remained as Newcastle coach at the end of the season, which included, after talks with the 25-strong delegation from the PIF in a series of meetings in England itself. During the summit, all parties acknowledged the season wasn't good enough, can't be repeated, consensus that House should continue. But once again, Newcastle sells Anthony Gordon and Sandro Tonali. Total deals worth £69.3 million, or $92.5 million, and $100 million. So 169 million in pounds in sales. Interest from Arsenal and Bruno Guimaraes. And so Eddie Howe obviously will now be considered a club legend. So Gisela, center back as a player, signed from Stuttgart by their then manager Ralf Rangnick. Germany U21, suffered an ACL tear in a 2009 game, never the same, retired at 26. Then, thanks to Rangnick, who was RB Leipzig's head of sport, invited onto a trainee program within the club's youth department, worked as an assistant to current Stuttgart coach Sebastian Hoeneß, who was in charge of Leipzig's U16s at the time, became an assistant at Brøndby. 2019, back to the Red Bull network, coach of Salzburg's U18s. Then you had 2 years later in 2021, replaces Bo Svensson at Leiferding, Salzburg's feeder club. And when the Dane took over at Mainz, and then when Jesse Marsch left Salzburg for Leipzig, Gisela was in position to succeed him, head coach of the Austrian champs at the age of 33. Gisela wants his players to have agency on the ball, but for that expression to exist within a framework and to be supported by intense defensive work. Nick will be happy. Press. Quoting Gisela, I want to stress on the opponent as soon as possible. And when we win the ball, I want to go as quickly as possible towards the opponent's goal. I'm very vertical in that approach. Rangnick influence is clear. Naturally, as that comes to the players within the Red Bull system, the world outside it is not the same. That is absolutely true. And that came from an interview with Gisela back in January with Sebastian Stafford Bloor of The Athletic, their German football correspondent. So I think early on what you're going to see from Newcastle and Gisela is the opportunity to press the ever-loving daylights out of the ball. And then, I don't know, he's going to have to construct a roster, and you can do this economically, which is, I think, what Newcastle has to do these days, is that you have to have players of a certain physical ability. They got to be able to press out of the building and do it for 90 minutes. So how much of the current roster, and this is a Maddie and Alex question more than anything else, because I don't have the answer. If Gisela wants to do the race, as Nick says, who on the roster currently at Newcastle can handle that kind of ish? And having squad turnover being what it would be, then it might help things out economically. But I'm just wondering, what's the roster makeup going to be with Newcastle if we think that Gisela is going to be their new head coach? What's the new roster going to look like at Newcastle? What's it going to look like? How many of the dudes that are here are going to be able to handle the demands of the Gisela pressure over 90 minutes? Last 15 first half, last 15 of the second half. 30 to 45, 75 to 90. That's when you usually tire out in this system. So what's it going to look like with Gisela, and how much of that roster that's currently there is going to be different? That would be my larger question for all of this. So looks like Matthias Gisela is going to be the new head coach at the new manager at Newcastle, and we'll see what the roster looks like. But once again, you've had some big outbounds. Looks like you might be having more outbounds. But Ysla might have guys that he wants to help his system that would not meet the financial demands of the players that are on the outbounds. So it might help. It might help Newcastle on their bottom line. So there you go. That's the biggest news out of Newcastle in and of itself. Morning, Knicks. Morning, David. Morning, Will. Morning, Ricky. Morning, Abby. Abby's thinking maybe 48,000 last night at Yankee Stadium. Not a surprise. And then morning, Ricky as well. So Abby and Ricky and Will and David and Nix and Kefsey. Kefsey's in this morning. Well, good morning, Kefsey. Welcome back. So that's where we are with all the things that is attached to. No, there we go. Okay. All right. So that is the early rundown of things this morning. Obviously, after Nino and Nico come in the second hour, we'll look at gossip, rumor, and innuendo. We'll kind of push that to the back a little bit just so we've got it ready for us and have it be the most updated as we can leading into the rest of your Thursday. So last night, Charlotte, and how do I phrase this? Pictures aside, you had 34,000, I think, last night. 34,197, I think, was the attached number to tickets that were sold for the All-Star game in the Uptown. And the first 45 minutes, it was one of those. It was one of those where you're sitting there going, man, that's looking pretty sweet. And understandably so. When you have two guys that kind of combine the way that they did, it was some really good football early on from MLS. Case in point, you're down 1-0, then you're not. Jake and Taylor on the call, Apple TV.
Right, thought there was somebody there. Heel wins it back. Now puts it over to Sun. He's got a lot of room. Sun on man. That's a man off his line. Sonny scores. It's who the people came to see, many of them. In the All-Star game, perhaps the biggest superstar here tonight delivers.
Then Carlos Heel, brilliant, turn him over, but then just clipping it in behind and allowing Sun to run on. No defenders around him. Strike one, strike two, but the third one, the third bite of the apple, the all-time leading goal scorer for South Korea, buries it. It's 1-1. Game on.
Now, so it's 1-1, and then it wasn't, because Carlos Heel is a very bad man. And we'll go over the goal in and of itself in a bit, but here's a goal that made it 2-1 for Major League Soccer, and it was a beauty.
Mukhtar clipped forward to Heel. Acevedo stayed this time. Heel. Oh my goodness. Show
and the creativity and their ability to find a pass. Argue with me right now. Top 10 player in MLS history, Carlos Heel. Brilliant composure, vision, and a wand of a left foot. 2 assists from the New England Revolution maestro to the goal scorer of LAFC. My man left the World Cup, and he's on fire. 2-1 MLS over Liga MX.
The ball from Carlos Heel from the end line was filthy. He had about a foot of space from the end line, stops, pivots, sees the defender. He's got a defender kind of off at an angle, and then he obviously has the other defender from Liga MX more inside the 6 guarding the near post. The defender that's kind of not really staring at him, but kind of off at about 2 o'clock. He sends the ball off of his outside hip and around the player and through a second to find Son, who volleys it home. It was insane. The placement of that ball from Carlos Hill was nuts. And the finish from Son Heung-min obviously slams the door to make it 2-1. And it would not be done there because then it would be 3-1. Thanks once again, Zinkernagel getting the goal for Major League Soccer.
Back to Surridge. Surridge into the middle. Oh, it's Guilherme. It's blocked and then in. Philip Zinkernagel. MLS 3, Liga MX 1.
And so that way made it 3-1 at that point. Solomon Rondon we had a Solomon Rondon sighting actually. 3-2 at that point in the 55th. And then 3 minutes later, you get the change to go from 3-2 to 4-2. Evander with the goal in the 58th.
Still through. Behind Dreyer. Surge. Good touch. Evander! Time and time again, that man proves he's the real deal. Evander restores the 2-goal lead for MLS. 4-2.
It's been a lot of Liga MX, but how about this one too? Andy Nahar has been a great signing for BJ Callahan in Nashville. But Sam Surge, that's difficult to react that quickly, but to lay that ball off to Evander, and Evander better finish that because Guilherme's right behind him. The fellow Brazilian making sure that if Evander didn't finish, he was getting an earful, but he does. As he so often has in the regular season for the Portland Timbers and FC Cincinnati since coming to Major League Soccer.
So 4-3 your final. Just a couple of the stats. 25 shots for the Liga MX All-Stars, 16 of them on target. 13 shots for MLS, 8 on target. 5 block shots for Liga MX compared to 4. 1,146 total passes. MLS actually completed passing at a worse rate, 86.5% to just over 89 1/3. 18 crosses, 14 of them by Liga MX. 12 MLS saves on the night compared to 4. 8 clearances by Major League Soccer. 19 fouls on the night, 12 of them for Liga MX. The 1 yellow card from the takedown early in the first half. But yeah, the idea specifically, 25 shots from the Liga MX All-Stars. 25 shots. 16 on target, and you scored 3 times. Had the goal in the 9th, then you were down 3-1, then you're back to 3-2, 4-2, 4-3, your final. So there you go. That's your run of how it looks, the MLS All-Stars and Liga MX. So that's your rundown there. Now everybody's back to playing in league before you get into Leagues Cup and all that stuff. So the sprint continues here in Major League Soccer, but a big night in front of 30. I think it was 34,197. I think was the number that was posted. But all I would ask for is if you are not, or let me phrase it this way. Morning, Alex. Morning, Kevsey, and morning, Wiley. If you're going to do something in a building that size, I would ask maybe if you put up some bunting or banners in the upper deck in Charlotte in that 300 level where nothing was going on. Put some stuff up there. Just saying. For those of you that might not have watched the match in and of itself and had some things to do in the midweek, go onto the Twitters and look at Uptown Charlotte, look at the bank, and look at the 300 level as a portion of the larger picture. Trust me, I get at the end of the day that you had over 34,000 in the building. I get that. But just look at the 300 level. 300 level was bald. Nothing going on. You kind of pinned in your TV partner, Charlotte. Wasn't the best of looks. Just saying. We're going to take the tour in about 15 minutes. We're going to start the tour with our buddy Nino Torres. We'll do South America. We'll do Portugal. We'll get you ready for what's going on. And South American leagues have kicked back in. European leagues are about to kick in next couple of weeks. And then obviously at 10:30, last half hour of the show, we're going to catch up with our friend Niko Moreno from Pulso Sports, Sounder at Heart. I know a lot of folks are sitting there and they're gravitating toward a soundbite that was there from Brian Schmetzer saying that they weren't going to bring in 5 new players. We'll discuss the context of that. Obviously, something like that is going to get you headlines, but the larger point is that there's more to it than that. David, they did not try to sell the full barn. They did not. David wanted to know. When Atlanta had theirs, they sold full barn. When Juve came to town, they did not. They made a conscious effort not to sell the 300s. They wanted lower bowl. And like I said, I get it. You know, you sold the lower bowl out. I mean, it was, like I said, 34,197 was, I think, the number that was posted. But there was no effort. That was not part of their intent. Their intention was not to open the building to the 300 level and above, to that upper section. It was supposed to be club level and the 100s, and that's it. It's disappointing that Charlotte felt that was the way to go, because I think that with the Liga MX fan, I think that you would have gotten more people in the building. I think also that, and even if you turned it into something that was, you know, if you were wanting to really embrace, say, the youth community, you give away a boatload of tickets in the 300s. But no, there was no effort at all, no conscious effort to sell the full barn at all. They decided not to. And that's disappointing. And you really pinned in your TV partner with that. And honestly, and David, you're right. Literally, upper tank, you go $20, bring people in the door, do giveaways to the local soccer communities, all the youth leagues and everything. Get all the youth leagues in there in the upper tank and the 300s. Absolutely. If you're not going to do that, then put up bunting and banners. But you really pinned in your TV partner with your lack of want to. Lack of want to really pinned in your TV partner with a lot of the visuals last night. Atlanta United is practicing this morning at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, and there are some youngins that are a part of the practice and the training. Yesterday, it was announced by Hapoel Be'er-Sheva that Pedro Amador is now part of their group on a 4-year deal, I believe. So Pedro Amador is now he is out. He is now out with his new club. Apparently, according to reports, hang on, trying to see. I do not believe, and it is a very early morning with folks at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, and I believe the Latte Lot is not training this morning with the club. So that is probably the biggest piece of news that we're seeing there. But once again, you're having a lot of the younger players that are a part of practice. And also remember, Tuesday tomorrow is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It is a 4 o'clock start. 4 o'clock start at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground. If you're going to get tickets, go through Ticketmaster. They're free. But once again, go through Ticketmaster, get your tickets to come in for a 4 o'clock start. Maddie and I will have your pregame at 3:30. Maddie will have the call at 4. And then we'll all fight traffic going home. But the only other thing is this. This is for the remaining home matches this season. And I know the times are a little odd. But when you go to Ticketmaster. Tickets are free. And then I think they'll post the transportation, where to park, and all that kind of stuff. So just keep an eye out for the website at atlutd.com. Go into the 2 section. They should let you know where you should be able to park. My guess is it's probably going to be down the street, and they'll run shuttles. But you have to adhere to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium policy for clear bags and dimensions and things like that. So all the 2's games the rest of the year, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground, you have to get the physical ticket from Ticketmaster, but you have to adhere to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium guidelines for clear bags and all of that stuff. So just keep an eye out on the website for where to park. I think it's going to be at the park down the street, as the way it traditionally is for events that are on that campus. So probably down the street, shuttle in, make sure you got your ticket available, make sure your bag is cool and meets spec like it would at Mercedes-Benz, and then you'll be fine. But 4 o'clock kick tomorrow, Carolina Core, 3:30 pregame with me and Maddie. Maddie will have the call at 4. Game will be over about 6. And then it's a Friday in Atlanta, 6 o'clock in Cobb County. But at least you'll be leaving and you'll be heading against traffic. And so Abby is confirming soccer park down the street, shuttle in. So it's a big matchup for the 2's tomorrow. And they're all big matches, really, because right now the 2's are in a fight in the Eastern Conference. They're at 33 points, but they have match in hand on 3 of the 5 teams above them. So if they take care of business and beat Core tomorrow, who are 14th in the conference, 21 points, 21 matches played. And Atlanta United, too, by the way, only one of 3 teams in the East that has double-digit wins. Crown Legacy has 10. Crew have 10. They're 1-2. Atlanta United 2, 6th, 10 wins, 10, 6, and 3 so far this season. But if they win that match in hand, they go to 4th going into the weekend. So that's what they're looking for. Like I said, if you talk to Jose Silva, he'll sit there and tell you that the points have been left on the table in the 9 matches that were not wins for them this season. Big match tomorrow, Carolina Core. They win, they go to 4th in MLS Next Pro. And so keep an eye on that. But once again, Abby confirming soccer park down the street, and you'll shuttle in. And Kefsey, that's why we talk about them. Kefsey, the 2's are the light in the club. Wish more people knew. That's why we talk about them as much as we do, because it is the future. And what we've always wanted to do as the network that is calling all of these 2's, all the 2's matches and giving all the coverage to the academy and the 2's and all this kind of stuff, we want you to be informed going in. So when these players traditionally have come up from the 2's and they become a part of the first team, you can have conversations with folks and bring them in under the tent. Well, hey, what is this? What is this about this Dominic Chankwi? What is this about Arif Kovac? What am I hearing about Arif Kovac? What is this I hear about Cameron Dunbar? What is this I hear about about Jonathan Ransom, about James Donaldson, about all these players in this cycle. But I mean, in the past, it's been It's been Matt Edwards. It's been Jay Fortune. It's been Will Riley. It's been Cooper Sanchez. All of these names that have come in through the system and through the academy and working their way up through the twos and working their way onto the first team. And so everybody said, well, what is this about Will Riley? What is this about Cooper Sanchez? What is this about Jay Fortune and Matt Edwards and everybody? Well, they spent time with the twos and they did this and they, so that way, once again, you get to bring more people under the tent so they know what they're looking at instead of sitting there going, oh, he came up from the second team? Yeah, he came up from the second team and he did this, and this. So you get to bring more folks under the tent because of your knowledge of the twos. And we've always thought it was important because it's not a separate thing. It's all a part of the flow chart and the tree that is Atlanta United as an organization. It's about MLS Next. It's about the academy. It's about the twos, everything funneling and working its way up. It's about Javier Perez and being a director of methodology and seeing all of, right now, the U13s are insane. And we get to talk about that here as a part of our missive and as a part of our dynamic and as a part of our, as a part of our DNA. But what they're building on a bunch of different levels is just as important. So that's why we like to bring all of that info to you. And that's why we always enjoy talking about academy and talking about twos and talking about all these things. That's just kind of how we're wired. We enjoy the storytelling aspect of it, but we also understand its importance. So that's where we are. Anyway, now I'll get off my soapbox for a day. So that's where we're at when it comes to Atlanta United and the twos. So enjoy the twos. It'll be good to see everybody up there tomorrow. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it from our friends at Fanatis, ftz.co/soccer down here. That link is important. It helps us. It helps them. It helps you. Add to all the streaming services and all the matches that you didn't know you could watch. You can really watch them now. Links to CATV, links to Tigo Sports, links to a lot of the A and B divisions in South America. You've got TVV out of Venezuela, CDO Plus out of Chile, Liga 1 Max Pro out of Peru. You've got TEC out of Argentina. And you've got all the BNs, and I mean all the BNs. Polish League kicked back in this past week, which reminds me, I've got to do the picks of the week for the Discord to start the Clausura and get you ready for that. So that'll be up. I'll do that today. So that way it'll be a sprint into the weekend, and we can do it that way. So Clausura getting ready for that. Whoever won the Medio, the winner of the Apertura, you guys are in the Campeón de Campeones MLS Cup week. Or MLS Cup, period. So that'll be Campeón de Campeones. But we got to figure out the winner of the Clausura, and that starts this week. This weekend, keep an eye on the Discord. So you got the Polish League, the Turkish League, and the French League with BN. You have all the stuff with WAFCON going on right now. Big upset yesterday. The Shawinga sisters came up big for Malawi. 3-2 win for them in the tournament in the knockout stage. We're going to effort our friend Ali Howarth as the tournament continues to go to talk about all the storylines that are available to us. So you get AFCON, you get WAFCON, you get all the AFC Champions League stuff, you get all the Olympic qualifiers, you get all of the U tournaments, you get all of the World Cup qualification stuff. That's all in one place over there with all the BNs, Middle East, North Africa, Europe, all of that. Today, Sudamericana and Libertadores, you also get those. Sudamericana, again, Gremio Boulevard at 6, O'Higgins and Boca Juniors at 8:30. That one is also simulcast on BN Español. Sunderland and Leeds at 7:30 on the Deuce. It is CONCACAF U20s, 9 o'clock tonight, Mexico and Guatemala. It's on FS2. Europa League, Midtjylland and Besiktas at 1 o'clock. And Conference League, Panathinaikos and Pakshi is at 2:30. Costa Rica and Antigua and Barbuda is your first match. That one's going to be on at 6. And then Central American Cup is on Paramount Plus. Remember, they just signed the deal. Herediano and Marathon, that is an underrated one. That's at 9 o'clock. Municipal and Cartagena is at 11 o'clock. And that's on Paramount Plus. And that's what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Brought to us by our friends at Fanatis at ftz.co/soccer down here. So that's where we're at. Okay, now we get to find out what is going on. It might help if I actually might send links and stuff. So I'm going to send a link real quick to Nino and Nico. It's like literally they've been on the show so much, I take it for granted that they, that they know where to log in with all the things. So it is Niko Moreno and Nino and studio space. Okay, so there you go. All right, take the tour on some of the other news. Real Madrid reports a record 1.221 billion euro in revenue. Third straight year above $1 billion. Club's own claim, highest revenue figure in sports history. Without any trophies, Xabi Alonso leaving and Jose Mourinho coming in. Brescia Calcio liquidated after 115 years, dissolved by the Italian courts. Club had already been stripped of their professional status, barred from national competition since the summer of 25. You're talking Pirlo, Baggio, Guardiola history. But Brescia Calcio, out the door and done after 115 years. Let's see. What else have I missed? DC United adds defender midfielder Kimito Nono from Kashima Antlers on a deal through 28-29 with a 29-30 option, 13-3 and over 87 appearances the last 3 years, best 11 in the J-League in 2024. Kashima won the J-League title in 25. Late night Spirit beat Utah 1-0. Jarrett was there. If you follow him on Twitter, you'll notice that he's at a lot of games at America First, and we get to learn together with him, whether it's Monarchs, whether it is Royals, whether it's RSL. Washington now 36 points, 17 matches atop the table. Paige Matire across to Rodman, 8th goal of the season, and that gets the win on the road for Spirit. NWSL suspended Kansas City forward Penelope Hawking for one match after determining she deliberately stood on the ponytail of Boston Legacy's Alba Cano on July 25th. Disco ruled it a major game misconduct, overturning the on-field ref's initial no call. Hawking is going to miss Kansas City's match against Racing Louisville. Timbers signed Vincent Janssen on a free. Club's first Dutch player in history, 2-year deal through 27-28. 4 seasons at Royal Antwerp, 64 goals and 173 appearances, replaces Felipe Mora, who went to Atletico San Luis. Cindy Parlo-Cone asked about it at the All-Star game last night. Says that contract extension talks with Mauricio Pochettino going well, teased an announcement in the coming days. And so U.S. Soccer wants to keep him through 2030 in Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. So that is the that's a bit of the rundown with what happened in the overnight. But obviously we'll keep you posted on anything and everything that might come across our bow one way or the other before we leave you this morning. And it is so, and I'm so happy to have this studio back, considering what happened yesterday, and it still drives me crazy. I was mortified. I was mortified with all the guests that we had yesterday. And it was absolutely mortifying. But now that we're back here in this particular part of the planet, then it's is that on? Is that entirely too? I feel like that's too much of a glare. See, nothing like trying to do things where you sit there and it's like, you look like you're flared out and everything. Are you going to behave? You going to give that to me? Is my lamp broken? Maybe that's why. Wow, it's not letting me do it anymore. Okay, maybe you are broken. Maybe I need to get a new lamp. Yeah, or okay. Wow, you are. Maybe yours down as far as you can go. Okay. It just felt weird. Knicks is shocked that Poch is still or maybe re-signing. Still don't think the odds are great he's still here in 2030. But, and I will say this, that they want to keep him for the 4-year cycle. They want to keep him. And I think that the biggest thing, it would not surprise me if there was something in the contract that says if you leave, it is a massive financial penalty that has to be handled by the club that wants to bring you in. If he wants to go back to Europe at some point, then it would be, okay, so, hey, Bodo Glimt, you're going to pay like $98 million penalty for having it happen. All right, it's that time. It is that time. The man is large and in charge as he always is. He's ready to go. He's getting gassed up. He's trying to figure out what is going on in and around the planet. He knows because he just sent me the notes, because it is that time to figure out what's going on. Is he ready? Is he ready? He's always ready. And for now, we go to Peru. Yellow, yellow, yellow. My man, what is up?
Yellow, yellow, yellow. Soccer Down Here fans. I'm here. I'm back. Bigger and better than ever. So loaded, so excited, so happy about the Peruvian soccer teams that are just rolling, brother. Flexing the muscle in CONMEBOL, flexing the muscle in Liga Uno. We're so back.
You are.
We're so
You
back.
are. You're getting. It's a Clausuras are up and running. Tournaments are up and going. Sudamericana, Libertadores, and I'm just going to dive in. Fasten your seatbelts. Liga Uno Universitario is seriously back. Please explain yourself, sir.
So, but by the end of last year, there was a new administration, new bosses in town. They got to manage the budget, and they re-signed the three champions and everything else. But the signings were not there. The signings, we fell short. So they just decided to redeem themselves and to show the fans that they can do the things right. I think. Hopefully so. Hopefully so. Because we really, literally, we just gave away the first half of the season. We just gave away the Apertura with terrible signings, and actually, firing the coach, and we got to get Cooper on board. And now, we with the signings that we made, Johnny, we are the number one team. We're the number one contender on this competition right now in the Clausura. So all the Alianza Lima fans, they're already crying. Why did they sign this player? How come they get away with this big way? How come they didn't call a foul? Brother, in his second game with the New York Reporters, in his second game, he scores a goal. This is what we're talking about when we talking about strikers, right? It's not like, you got to give it some time to adjust to the new league. Give it some time to this. You give it some time to that. Patience is something that we don't have now when it comes to strikers, because we're so sick of signing and well, Gianluca is not Diane, but it's all right, man. He's 37, but it's all right. It's all right. He's a quality striker. He's a quality striker, Peruvian national team striker, and there were all the concerns about, because he was not 100% fit, right? Again, the same story with all the signings lately. That he's not. You gotta give me some time. I'm good, brother. Just give me 15, 20 minutes apiece, and I'll keep scoring goals. As long as he comes in, he plays. I don't care if he plays 5 minutes, as long as he scores a goal, right? I don't care. And that's the thing with strikers. And the good news is not only that Lapadula is scoring, also Alex Valera is on board on the first two games. You got the return of Piero Quispe. We got several pieces, Johnny, that makes this team so dangerous now. And I'm a little bit carried away because it's my team, but just a little bit, right? But it's just, besides that, my devotion for this team. They're not to be serious now. And it's not that I wasn't serious. It's just a little bit more dramatic. It is true that this team under Cooper who with a full preseason under his belt. It's not like because when he arrived, he gotta play. I gotta play two couple of Libertadores games. I gotta play these two, and no, you got the whole month, the whole World Cup month, right, to get your preseason going, to get the signings that you wanted, and to get the system that you wanted, and it's starting to look like a Cooper blueprint in the Liga Uno, and this one goes for you, Alianza Lima. Get ready. We're going to see you in the finals at the end of the year.
So then why are you a dog at Cienciano on Sunday?
Oh, really? You don't know why? everybody who goes to Cusco is an underdog, brother. Everybody. You can ask Flamengo. You can ask Lanús. You can ask anyone, Botafogo. You can ask all the big dogs in the continent. Going to Cusco, you're a dog. You are, and the massive high octane offense that the Cusco is running right now. They got the weapons in the first half of the year, but they were not there. And I gotta say this about Charlie Garces is probably the I want to say after Hernan Barcos in the last 5 years, Charlie Garces, the Ecuadorian who came from Barcelona to Cienciano, he's the most influenced striker in the league. 19 games, 10 goals only this season. And he's always on the board. He's always up there. He's a nightmare, man. He's actually a nightmare because he's a street ball player. He's street smart. And when you got that in that 6'2", 195-pound guy, it's kind of like it makes a difference, right? Because you can be street smart, and you can be Miguelito Miron size, and it's a different story, right? So, Cienciano has firepower. Cienciano has a team that is loaded with players. I love Alejover, the work he's doing for Cienciano, and every time that he plays against his former teams, man, he scores, man. Alejandro Hover, when he played against us, he scored. When he was in Alianza, then he went to Universitario, he scored against Alianza. So every time that he plays against his former clubs, he scores. So that's it's gonna be a massive game. It's just gonna be a massive game, and probably the best game of this round 3 in the Liga Uno. I will say that. Yes, it'll be.
Now that you've introduced this, Cienciano roared. They took down the Copa Sudamericana champs. They weren't messing around, brother.
You know what? Please don't forget, for the people that is listening now, Cienciano is the only Peruvian team with 2 stars, with 2 international stars. They won Sudamericana and they won the Recopa. And not only that, they beat Boca Juniors and River Plate on those 2 finals back in 2003. So those 2 stars, it means something. And when you have a coach like Cienciano, when you have the kind of firepower Cienciano has, like I said, when you go to Cusco, you're a dog, and in especially for Rio de la Plata teams, for Uruguayan teams, for Argentinian teams, they're the ones that suffer the most when they go into the altitude. And I'm not putting that as an excuse, but and of course, you got to play ball. It doesn't matter about the altitude. You can play ball. You cannot beat anybody because we were 15,000 feet above the sea level. Yeah, but you can't score. That there's nothing you can do about it, right? It's not going to get you anywhere. But Cienciano, it did. And Cienciano is, I think they're playing Botafogo now next. Isn't it, Johnny?
I'll take your
right?
word for it. I'm efforting.
I think they're taking Botafogo now. Next, it all depends how they perform in Brazil. It all depends on that. If they can hold Botafogo to only 1 goal the second leg is Cinciano's. Second leg is in Cusco. I'm sorry, Botafogo, you're gonna be out if you don't take advantage at your home game over in Cinciano. Cinciano will eat alive in Cusco. Wait, I want to go, man. I want to go to that. The stadium in Cusco is absolutely beautiful because they renovated it for the Copa America in 2004, and since then it's a beautiful place, man. It's a beautiful stadium. That's one of the stadiums that I want to go. Hopefully, so soon.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, River Plate. I'm just scratching my head. I'm scratching my head on both Boca Juniors and River Plate. Boca Juniors play tonight at 8:30. O'Higgins, but yeah, I'm scratching my head on both of these dudes.
It's how do I put this? We talked about this before, and I'm gonna want to say it again for the fans that didn't hear me before. They gotta switch the way they're doing things in both clubs, in River and in Boca. I mean, in Boca Juniors, it's gonna be more difficult because Riquelme is not gonna go anywhere, and it's his way or there is no way. But in River Plate is a different story. But now they fired Gallardo, and what are they doing now? They can't find the right pieces. They can't find the right coach. They just can't. And all these re-signing players that are thinking that because they won something with River Plate 8, 7, 9, 15 years ago, they're going to do it again. And it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. Outside Colidio, who's the best player? If I tell you River Plate, Johnny, tell me a name that pops up in your mind right away. Just give me one.
I mean, that's my problem. I can't.
But back in the day, you got Francesco, you got Gallardo, you got Burrito Ortega, you got several the names that just come right up into your mind. Right now, it's just like any other team, man. You can tell me the same. It's like the same way with the Deportivo Riestra players. I don't know. I don't know who to pick, who to choose. It's so disappointing. It's so disappointing because I'm gonna make a parallel. It's a really bananas parallel, but I'm gonna put Manchester United into this conversation. I don't know how, but I'm gonna drag it in here. Since the exit of Fergie, Manchester United has been struggling all these years to find the way, to find the caliber players that they needed or they wanted or they can perform at the Man United jersey. If I gotta tell you one name from Man United right now, is Bruno Fernandes, and that's it. That's it. It's kind of the same way, in a different levels, but they are going through those phases, to this transition that seems like it's like a never-ending transition phase. When is this transition going to stop? And when are we going to go to the next level? And when are we going to go back to winning? Mm-hmm. And forget about and before we talk about Libertadores or Sudamericana, about winning the league, brother. Mm-hmm. About winning the actual league. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. By the way, there was a massive goal from Deportivo Riestra on Boca Juniors the other day, which is absolutely stunning, man. It's suffering. It's painful to watch both teams, both the biggest clubs in Argentina, the winningest teams in the country. This is just like a Temu version of the River Plate and wow. Yeah. That I was hard at that, but it's true, man. It's the truth. That's wow. What it is.
A Temu version. Cinciano and Botafogo play on August the 12th.
Nice. Is that first leg away in Brazil?
Yeah, Botafogo's on the bottom of the bracket because I'm looking at it. Cienciano's on top, Botafogo's on the bottom when you look at the bracket. So, yeah, it is. Yeah, it's at the team that's on the bottom because, Lanús and Cienciano was on the bottom when Cienciano got the 4-0 win. So I'm going to assume and project Cienciano is at Botafogo August the 12th. So that's how I'm looking at this. And if the bracket's screwed up, then I blame the bracket and I take and the winner of that one gets Bragantino and Atletico Mineiro. So that's how gets it's the other one. It's Vasco da Gama and Olimpia. Yeah, Cienciano Botafogo gets Vasco da Gama and Olimpia. That's what it looks like next time. So that's out of that.
Okay.
And
it's at home. Cienciano at home, John.
Yeah. So that's what you're staring at with those two. Okay. Next up, the masterpiece in sports marketing with Deportivo Municipal. What's going on here,
brother? This is just Google Deportivo Municipal sponsors.
Okay.
Google that and you'll see. All right. When you Google that, I'm gonna tell the story to the fans here. So Deportivo Municipal is a legendary club here in Peru, and they were relegated to the second division, and they were
this one, yes.
You see that one? All right.
Yeah.
So this is what they did, right? They were just desperate to get money, to get sponsorships, and they came up with this just wild idea that it was just absolutely insane. But and they were like, "No, is it gonna work? We have nothing to lose, brother. We have nothing to lose." So what they did is, instead of going for a big name, right? Hey, I don't know, Samsung, we need sponsor from you guys to cover our jersey. No, we're gonna offer whatever business that wants to be a sponsor of the Deportivo Municipal. We give her $60 a piece. You pay $60, and you get your name on the jersey. There's 1,000 sponsors now on that jersey. 1,000. So they got all cramped out together. They're all in there. And it's just like it's a mosaic with all these names and businesses, small businesses. It's like Juanita's Panaderia there or whatever. And it's just beautiful. I mean, $60,000 on sponsors from this wild idea that I think it should be. I mean, it's gonna make a case. They're gonna talk about this in Harvard. They're gonna talk about this in the economics and the Forbes, because it's genius. It's a genius idea. Those ideas that either it could go so good or so bad, and it went so good. You see that? It's just ridiculous, man.
I love it, and now I wish I'd known about it because we would have dropped the $60 to be on the jersey. I mean, yeah. I wonder if you can still do it, because you can there's a pre-sale on the jersey, and also if you're a sponsor, you could get like a 35% discount and everything. But yeah, it's $119.20 to buy the jersey right now. But yeah, I got to figure out how to get a sponsor deal on this, and then I've got to figure out how to get the jersey, because this is gorgeous, and that's fantastic marketing by them.
It's genius,
gorgeous,
man.
It's gorgeous. So it from Infobay. This is where I'm catching the intel on it. But yeah, literally 1,000 sponsors, $60 a piece, and it's out of financial necessity. They did it. The phrase by Albert Einstein: "A crisis is an opportunity to progress."
There you go.
And so the financial crisis of ADL worsens over the years. Team sporting performance forced authorities to seek a solution that could at least reduce the problem. And so they sold the space on the jersey. Hundreds of parties joined the project, and they got 1,000 sponsors, and entered the market once and closed their participation in the Copa Peru. Businessmen, merchants, entrepreneurs. And so they're now so they're called the Garbage Dump Gang.
Yeah, that's their name of the ultras. Yeah, Those are the Ultras. La Banda del Basurero. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I mean, that's gorgeous marketing. And so now I've got to go down that rabbit hole when the show is over to see if we can still dive in and be a part of this. And so they went from undergoing special preps for their return to Liga Tres to derailing their Copa Peru campaign, crises financially, fought through appeals, complied with the Peruvian Federation's ruling, revamped with the additions of Jair Cespedes and Cristian Ramos. They were in the departmental stage. After waiting results of the district and provincial phases, paired with Defensor Santa Teresa, an opponent they defeated with goals from Panduro and Messias. And so the academy goes to the next stage and all. Okay, so I went down the rabbit hole, but that's a fantastic. I saw this and I was like, oh, but now that you bring this up, great marketing by Deportivo Municipal, fantastic stuff. And yeah, you're right. That's great. I love that. I love how folks respond to that. All the hearty stories from the World Cup are beautiful. What do you mean here?
I was watching all these. You got all these YouTubers now that they drop money, right? They go to businesses and they just bring bring customers for the businesses that don't have any clients. And I see this guy. I forgot his name. Is Nasir. I forgot his name. So he was spotting, fans that were like seemed like they were out of place, right? And he was looking at this lady, was by herself, an Algeria fan, and she was sitting in the middle of the north side of the stadium. I don't know what stadium was, what game it was.
I think it was Arrowhead. I think it was in Kansas City.
And it was that one, yeah. So he went up there and approached the lady. Hey, how you got here? Well, my friends didn't want to come, so they told me if you want to go by yourself. So here I am by myself, and he offers, hey, how about you? Would you like to watch a game in the suite? Yeah. So she went there, spend, and then go to a party and everything. And you gotta see the faces, man. You gotta see the faces. They just like you just made the day their history right there. They just made history right there. That's something that's gonna tell your grandkids in I don't know how many years, but whatever. But then there's the same guy walks in the street and sees this family on the Portugal jerseys, of course, to number 7, of course, right? Oh, guys, you fans of Cristiano? Yes, give me the shoe, and you got the shoe and everything. Also, what, you got tickets? No, man, we just can't afford it, man. We just came here to be here, and then we just go to the party and whatever. But okay. So he shows up all these tickets for the entire family, like 6, man. The mom, dad, the 4 kids, the kids, and the kids they were crying, man. They were just crying, and I'm so happy that we have these kind of people around the world that they're doing this good to just not just. I mean, this is for families, but there's a lot more that they're doing this to people in need. But in this case, it was the families and people in need of a beautiful story for the World Cup, for the national team. You just travel there and without a ticket, man. You just go there just to be there. Just to be there, it's already a blessing. And then on top of that, you got to get into the game. It's just they're gonna remember that forever. And I'm just crying all over my laptop here by watching these beautiful stories, man. I'm so glad that is happening, man.
Okay, so I have a request.
Yes.
They don't. EOO does not ship to the United States. They ship within Peru, but they do not ship to the United States.
All right. Yeah, I got you, though. I got you. How you got, man?
So I need to send it to your place so you can then in turn flip it. So they're doing a pre-sale right now of the 1,000 sponsor jersey, Deportivo Municipal.
Uh-huh.
And so you can dive in on the pre-sale right now, but they don't ship to the U.S. So I'm going to have to ship it to your house.
Okay.
And then you can flip it. And then as part of this, I will get you one of them myself. And then you can have, it's like part of the package deal. Since you're doing all the elbow grease, I'm going to get you one of them so you can have it as a part of your collection and wear it whenever you want. So is that cool?
That's awesome, man.
Okay. And then we still have to figure out how we're getting your pilots here to the U.S. so you can Delta ship.
Yeah, now we can. Now we can. Now the whole craziness is gone. Now we're in a better place now. So I get to my pilots and we'll get this done, brother. I don't care. We're not get it done.
Yeah. So when your pilots figure out when they're coming to the U.S., we'll do like I said, they can just bring it.
Delta Cargo, right?
Delta Cargo, and then Delta Cargo ships it to Atlanta, and then I go to Hartsfield's Delta Cargo, and I get it, and we have all of the Nino the Baker baked goods.
Yes, we're gonna make it happen, man.
All right. So what else is going on these days? We're getting closer and closer to Portugal kicking off seasons, and there's transfer rumors and all the other things there too. And you're already shaking your head.
Don't tell me that, man. I'm gonna freaking cry, man, because it's been since 2019 that I've been calling this league, and this is the first year that I'm not gonna call it. They got Bean Sports got the rights for this season. So it is what it is, man. It is what it is. We'll see when I can return to be behind the mic, because I'll miss it so much, man.
Well, we'll talk about it, and we'll keep you in the loop. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about, because we love you very much.
Thank you, Johnny. Appreciate it, guys. We'll see you next week.
You got it. There goes Nino, and he's going to go and talk. He's going to go get coffee and breakfast and all these other things. He's just going to get all gassed up, and he's going to enjoy his day, and he's going to go bake like 98 cakes, and he's going to take them to all the freaking bakeries and in Lima, and it's just gonna be like, oh, you want like a dozen? Okay, I'll give you a dozen here. Then he gets in the car and he goes to the next one. Oh, you want a dozen? Okay, we'll put a dozen here, and we'll get a dozen here. Literally, this is what he does. He'll shoot stuff on Instagram, and it's like he's walking in and out of stores. It's like he's walking in and out of bakeries. And he's just like, okay, yeah, I just, and he's got the phone up here. What we need to do is we need to get him one of those long sticks. We need to get him one of those sticks so he can sit there and he can actually do stuff like out here. So he's not like at arm's length and you're sitting there and going, oh, dude, what are you doing? We need to get him like the big fishing pole so he can do his stuff and he can show you what's going on, where he's not like cramping up his arm or anything like that. So we need to get him a fishing pole for his phone, and we're going to get him one of these Deportivo Municipal jerseys, and we're going to send that to him, because that is brilliant marketing. It is absolutely brilliant marketing. And like I said, if they're still taking sponsors, then I'm going to figure out how we can still try and figure out how to do that. Because could you imagine somewhere in that jersey someplace, the SDH logo, the SDH Network logo, and the Deportivo Municipal jersey? That would be pretty sweet. If we can figure out how to do that, that would be epic. But that's going to be the fun part of this. So, see, this is what happens when we bring in Nino on a weekly basis. We bring him in, and he opens all of these doors. And I will say that between him and Jason, getting me to watch more South American football than I've ever watched in my entire life until I started hanging out with these two guys. I am literally looking at Peruvian football. I'm watching Libertadores. I'm watching Sudamericana. I'm watching B Division Paraguayan football because of these two. So I have them to thank about all this. I literally have them to thank for watching all of this A and B division stuff, for watching Liga One, and watching everything in all of these places. All of these, yes. So Nick's found it. Okay, so good. All right, so Nick's found the Yahoo article about Deportivo Municipal. And right now, here's the shorter, here's an article that I found on Infobay, and this is what I was referencing with Nino. So here is the shorter version from Infobay. Same premise, but yeah. I mean, the fact that Yahoo did this, that Yahoo Sports did, no, cancel, stop. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open this one, open link in new tab, which is what I thought I was doing in the first place. But yeah, Peruvian fourth tier club, 1,000 sponsors. It's a brilliant notion. Legitimately. Black and white squares, interested folks. I'm interested now. I'm interested in this. We need SDH on this Deportivo Municipal jersey. That's what we need. We got to figure out how to do this. But yeah, you can pre-order those jerseys and you can get them over. You can, like I said, they don't ship outside the country because they're fourth tier Peruvian football. That's the problem. You know, maybe if they were like, you know, maybe if they were first division, they might ship to the U.S. But I'm fairly certain that if they got a request to mail, to send their jerseys to the southeastern United States, could you imagine what this pops in? The mailbox of a fourth tier club in Peru. They're sitting there and they're looking at this going, what is it? Are they high? Are they crazy? Yes, we're crazy. That's gorgeous. It is a brilliant piece of marketing. Yes, we're crazy, but since they're fourth tier Peruvian football, no, they don't ship to the United States. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to our broker.
We're going to go to our broker, and he's going to take care of this for us. This is what's going to happen.
So our broker in South American football. Oh, well, that reminds me. The Pan Am Games, I think they're in Peru this year. I think the Pan Am Games are in Peru. Hang on. Do you want back in? Hang on. Nino's listening in the green room.
It's next year. Next year.
Okay. 20. Okay. So 27. All right.
Yeah,
So keep an eye on deadlines and guidelines for applying for credentials to the Pan
Okay.
Am. So that way, see if we can get you in to cover the Pan Am Games for us.
All right. Sounds good.
I mean, it's there. It's in the backyard, and maybe you can give the Pan Am Games folks some of your cakes and things. It's like, here, thanks for helping out.
Yeah. And you know what? Whenever there are competitions in my apartment building, well, I got a lot of athletes staying in here, man. Lots of athletes staying here for the under 18, under 19, and they always stay here because I'm right away, man. Just about 2-3 blocks away from the stadium.
I mean, this is what we're saying. So seriously, if there's anything, and I know that we thought about it too late to get you into Mexico City and stuff, but if there's anything going on in South America that you wanna try and apply for to go in, just shoot, let us know, man. I'm not gonna turn it down.
All right, sounds good. Sounds awesome.
All right, go back to breakfast. All right.
Take care.
There he goes. All right. So Nino has told us about Deportivo Municipal. And so now it's time to go from Lima to Seattle like we always do on Thursday, where it is bright and blank and early. It's 20 minutes to 8. And we bring in our friend Niko Moreno from Pulso Sports and Sounder at Heart. What is going on, my friend? Great to see you as always.
What is going on, John? SDH family. Just moving on. I kind of been working the phones, trying to figure out what I can get around rumors and transfers, of course. Got a little bit of a decent report here with Thunder Heart as of yesterday. So excited for that. And just waiting to see what happens this weekend between the Sounders and the Timbers. Because, the vibes are not great here in the PNW, at least in the Seattle area, because of the current form of the team. But hey, hopefully this news can change the ties a little bit and the wind can start swinging the Sounders' way.
Okay, so then I want to get into this because there were a lot of folks that got hung up on a soundbite, and this is why I want to break this out and I want to flush this out a little more, because a lot of folks see that headline of, well, we're not going to bring in 5 new players, and it creates this mass panic of, well, things are so bad and awful and horrible, and we're having a no good, very bad day, that we need to make all of these changes. And then your head coach says, well, we're not going to bring in 5 new players, and everybody starts freaking out and panicking all over again. And I'm thinking to myself, well, first and foremost, you need to play the longer soundbite of what he said. You can't just play that clip and sit there and take it at face value. You've got to play the longer soundbite to add context to what he was saying, and understand that that's where Seattle's always coming from. That's part of their buildup in the DNA. They're going to do things strategically, and they're going to do things. They're not just going to sit there and oh, my remote doesn't work, I need a new television. That's not how this works in Seattle. It's never been that way. And so we need to look at the longer quote from Brian Schmetzer before we sit there and we start freaking out about things.
Yeah, look, it's interesting the way things play out, because look, as a coach, everyone, the audience, fans, they need to understand that whether you think that you do need 5 acquisitions or not, although that's not the case here, you're not going to go out and necessarily say that, because you have to show your current team some confidence, right? You got to be able to say, hey, I got the right guys here. I got some guys that can come out and do it. Now, I think Brian maybe went a little too far on it, where the way he said it, and I asked him directly, I said, look, some of the comments you make could sound as someone who's complacent with how things are going. And, he agreed, but he mentioned that not panicking means not making rash decisions, right? He mentioned not playing Pedro de la Vega before he's ready to go. He mentioned going and that doesn't quite fit the team. So, there was a lot of coherence to what he was trying to imply. It's just that sometimes, as you mentioned, depends on how you say it and the phrase that maybe goes along with that final conclusion of your idea. It's very easy to clip that moment and run away with it. But I do think that he understands, Brian Schmetzer, that there's a clear void in productivity when it comes to the striker position. And we all know that. And he particularly understands that. Is he going to go out there and say it right off the bat? And fans were like, hey, have you guys asked about strikers? And I can't believe nobody's asking about. Well, we have asked him, but he has strategically and correctly been diplomatic about it. He's not going to say, hey, man, these guys in his locker room stink and I need to get new guys in here. I mean, it just makes no sense. So, yes, I do believe that Brian is trying to do 2 things. One, protect his guys, show them confidence, but also say, hey, we absolutely do. We can get better. And I think that's what you get out of it.
Well, and at the same time, you don't want to sit there and, you don't want to say that your guys stink. And at the same time, you also don't want to sit there and, if you are pursuing talent, you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're the second guy in a negotiation. You don't want to sit there and have the team that you're interested in. Oh, so you really do stink, huh? So what's this guy worth to you? You don't want to put yourself in a negative at the negotiating table by sitting there and approaching something by saying the extreme. You want to be diplomatic and you want to do things in backdoor channels. You don't want to sit there and put everything out there on the table for everything to see.
Absolutely. And as much as the team is clearly in a very bad moment in not just the season, but historically bad moment, right? 5 losses have never happened. A 5-1 loss to the Timbers has never happened. I mean, there's just been a consistent amount of very scandalous results, and that leads to people being upset, and that's fine. That's the fans' job to just be angry, be passionate about not having this be the norm, and the bar should be set higher. So it is a difficult position for Brian to be in, because look, I'm not sitting here excusing how badly some of these games have gone, but essentially you have maybe 5 or 6 starters that are off this team. If you count Pedro de la Vega, if you count the fact that Jackson Reagan obviously gets a second game for the red card that he had against Philadelphia. So there is a sense of, there are some guys that are coming back from injury, from here, from there, and will be better. So that's why we don't need 5-6 guys. That's, as you mentioned, not the Sounders MO. They're going to be very meticulous and they're going to be very careful with the guys that they bring in. And look, at the end of the day, this team doesn't have a lot of room when it comes to the salary cap, when it comes to the transfer. There's no DP spots open, right? So whoever you bring in is going to have to fit under a specific capsule that you have available, which, as much as I try to do long division here, is maybe a high TAM player. So whatever you bring in has to fit into that category. So it is a hard job for, Craig Waddle to try to figure out the scouting department, and we'll see how it plays out. But the reality is that this team, with 2 very hard games coming up, could find themselves in a 7-game losing streak, right? Because playing Timbers on the road with still a lot of injuries, with a lot of missing pieces, and then after that going to play in Toluca. I mean, those are 2 difficult games to win. And so if that happens, I wonder what, one, the fan base, how they're going to handle that, and 2, how the organization is going to be able to handle it. Brian himself, I mean, he's told us that he doesn't feel like he's on the hot seat, and he's created enough credit that, or, enough of a longer leash, so that he could do some things and try to figure this thing out. But man, I don't know, 7 games could feel different.
Yeah, and that's the other. I mean, I guess the phrase that I'm looking for is political capital. Is that Brian and the front office, and once we have to remind folks once again that the general manager is always up for a vote after in 4-year cycles. This is something that happens at the all hands on deck meeting, that the GM either gets a thumbs up, a thumbs sideways, or a thumbs down when it comes to, observation and renewal. So this is something that, plays into all of that when it comes to the front office. But you've got to sit there and say, well, that Brian in this front office, because of everything they've accomplished, they get, I'm not going to say a pass because you don't want to give that, but you give them enough credit for past events to sit there and it's like, okay, they've gotten themselves out of these jams. They've figured things out in the past. We think we can give them the benefit of the doubt that they can figure out what's right, what they can navigate, what they can manage to get into the second half of the season and keep us in the playoff picture.
Yeah, and look, and for better or for worse, and some might say it was for worse, getting that Leagues Cup title last year did provide the front office and Brian the ability to say, look, what we're doing is working. And look, you had guys like me questioning some things and saying, hey, where's the money for this Club World Cup going? Where's the, some of this other resources that you were selling? And, is that money coming back into the roster? And why is there U22 spots open in this roster where you could use those? And where is the replacement for Jordan Morris at some point? I mean, these are conversations that we've had, right? That I've put on the table, but at that particular time, it was very easy for the front office to say, hey man, we just won a championship. We just came off our best season when it comes to goal scoring. And, someone like me has to just sit there and be like, yeah, you're right. I mean, what can I do? I can't go against facts, and that's what's going on. But now when things start to go sideways, then some of these issues continue to pop up. And that's where I really do think that, and I think I said this in our last show, that there is this urgency right now from the front office to try to get something done and maybe not panic, right? Because I do believe Brian in that sense that this team is not going to make a panic signing, and that might be something hard for the fan base to understand. Because if, let's say, some of these things don't happen and you don't get somebody and you don't sign the right guy, the fans have every right to lose their minds because they want better. They want to make sure that there is a vision. And I feel like that's where the Sounders have missed the mark a bit. I've brought up the whole thing about there was one point when Raul Ruiz was still here, sitting on your bench, doing absolutely nothing, where, Craig Weibel in the front office, they had a deal done to New England. Done deal, right? Just sign it. That's all you got to do. And there was another player that could have came in at that DP position, but it didn't get done because of some budget things and the lack of confidence that you were going to go get another DP. So the vision sometimes is not there for the fans, where it's like, look, if Jordan Morris is hurt and continues to get hurt, like, can you move him out, or Pedro de la Vega or whoever? That's what the fans want to see. And so right now, with the current limitations that you do have, maybe there's wiggle room for some new players, but I think the next season is when the big changes might happen. But there is this urgency that's kind of built up because of all this consistent bad performances from the team.
Yeah, and you're also in a Western Conference right now that 9 teams are separated by 6 points. And frankly, if Seattle wins their game in hand, they're in 4th. That's how crazy the Western Conference is right now and how crazy it's going to be all the way through.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Houston. Houston's a team that, was below the Sounders in the standings going into the break, right, of the World Cup. They have added some pieces. They have some players they've spent some real money on that roster, and they look pretty good. I would argue that, a team like Minnesota can continue to get better, and there is some legitimacy level money on that side. Even Sporting Kansas City, as far down as you might look at them, I mean, they're trying to make moves, right? So those are the things that this team needs to understand, in which, hey, if guys are not coming back, if there's injuries, I mean, regardless, even if they do come back, you need to continue to add players and make this team better.
Yep. Right now, the decisions that have to be made. Rusnak has an option year for next year. I know that I think the Petkovic loan was only going to be a contract through this year anyway. Yamar is out of contract. Masovsky is out of contract. Nuhu is out of contract. Alex Roldan has an option year after this year. Ryan Saylor has an option through the sprints for the sprint schedule. Then your supplementals. Decisions have to be made on Max Anchor, who has 2 more windows after this. Cody Baker has 27 and 28 after this. Osaze de Rosario has a 27 option. Stuart Hawkins has an option for 2 more. Kim Ki-hee is out of contract. KKR has an option year for 27. And Sukunome has an option for 27 and 28. So that's what? 4, 5, 6, 7 supplementals that have to have decisions. And then another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you basically have as many as 14 roster decisions you have to make in Seattle for next season for the sprint and beyond.
And there are some forceful decisions, because Jesus Ferreira could very likely reach the escalators that would turn him into a DP level player. That's why I don't think that the Sounders can or will pick up Albert's option, and they're going to try to keep him, right? I mean, you could definitely talk to the player and tell him, hey, we're not going to pick up this option, but if you can come back at a high TAM level, player level, then we're going to go ahead and keep you. We'll see what happens with Yutsu Kanome. He was loaned out to the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. If he hits it over there, maybe there is a way that team purchases him. I mean, there's a lot of different avenues. But yes, I think next year is going to be a very big year for the Sounders team.
So what's going to happen in Cascadia this weekend? We figured that if you were a first 10, and we were talking about this earlier in the week with other folks, we figured that if you were watching Major League Soccer for the first time after the World Cup, you kind of got into soccer and you're watching Major League Soccer for the first time and you saw what happened at the end of Hell is Real. You're like, ooh, then you're hooked in. And we were thinking, okay, so what matchup this weekend could be kind of like what we saw with Hell is Real and what we thought of was Cascadia. So there is no love lost in this one. What do you think is going to happen here?
I don't really see many situations in which the Sounders win this game, to be quite frank. I think that there are way too many injuries. Christian Roldan and Jordan Morris are still not playing with the team. They are still a long ways out. Obviously, they're the most recently injured players. Alex Roldan was back this week, which is a positive, but I don't see him ready for 90. Pedro de la Vega was full on practice, but I don't see him ready for 90. I don't even know if he'll get like a cameo in this game. Yeah, Marco Andrade was back, but he also doesn't look ready for 90. So, you got certain players that could potentially be back that are not going to be 100%. Can the Sounders go in there and play off of emotion and intensity and disturb the game and just kind of take some of the wind of that stadium by being pragmatic perhaps and not allowing any goals early? Can you go 50-50 balls with the different type of demeanor? We talked to Snyder Burnell and he said that you got to set the tempo right off the bat. So maybe the Sounders have a way to, regardless of not being at the same talent level right now as the Timbers, maybe getting that game in turning it on its head and making it not a foot race and muddying the water a bit and perhaps getting a result. But the reality is that Portland is in very good form. Right after the Sounders win, they just look to be a different team. There's the changes at the managerial position that have been positive for this squad. I know that Mora's gone. He left with a brace and all that, but this is a team that I think with Kelsey was a difficult team to defend for the Sounders, right? They are very direct. They understand that the Sounders have a couple of potentially, again, a couple of young center backs and Stu Hawkins and Tino Lopez. So, man, I just think Providence Park is a difficult venue. Portland is in really good form. They have some very talented attackers in DaCosta and Anthony and Velde, who looks very, very good. And I just don't know if the Sounders have enough. Perhaps, again, like I said, if you could play this like a rivalry, golf of intensity, maybe you get a result, but the chances are not great.
Portland's a plus 114, draws a plus 290. Seattle is a plus 200 in this one.
Wow.
Yeah.
If anything, the draw is about as high I'm willing to go. But I just think Portland sees an injured opponent, and I think that they're going to go after him right off the bat, immediately off the very first minute. So it's going to have to take some leadership, and we've asked Brian about leadership and who are those guys that are going to take over, and captain with Nuhu with the captain band, is he really the guy that you want, having that responsibility, and who are going to be the players that understand the rivalry? Brian Smetzer, after the first game, he was like, maybe I didn't do enough to make sure that guys understood the importance of this game. So it could be a different outlook when it comes to their mentality, but I still don't know if it's enough.
A couple of other games to kind of keep an eye on this weekend. Messi and friends are hosting Crew. Crew, by the way, is a plus 320 dog going to South Florida. FC Cincinnati, coming off of Hell is Real, takes on San Jose at TQL. FC Cincinnati favorite is a minus 105, by the way, in that one. Vancouver and LAFC. Vancouver is a minus 120. Raw and LAFC are a plus 300. No Sebastian Berhalter anymore for Vancouver. So now they've got to figure out what they're going to do for the midfield and how they're going to try and solve that problem. I'm intrigued to see what Vancouver does here in the window to replace what they lose in Sebastian Berhalter, because he was there for you on set pieces and corners and was one of those bulldogs on defense. And in addition to being that, one of the folks that spurred you offensively, going into a home game against LAFC, I'm not so sure about that minus 120. I'm really not.
I'm not either. I mean, it's a difficult game for Vancouver because Sebastian Berhalter, it wasn't just a guy that was important in the midfield and in ball progression and being a guy that's a two-way player or his mid-range shooting, but he was a set-piece guy, and all of the things ran almost through Berhalter, and so that's a difficult one facing an LAFC team that That's looked pretty good. And I know they got Kansas City. I get it. I don't want to go too crazy about that 4-0. But I do think that, Mark Dos Santos and this coaching staff starting to dial in pretty well with this LAFC squad. So, look, it's not one that I'm particularly excited to put any sort of juice boxes on.
Yeah.
Because it could go either way. I trust a guy like Jasper Sorensen to maybe modify. He is not afraid of changing it up, whether it's the formation, whether it's the principles, one specific game. And that's why he's been so good in short tournaments and be able to be really successful with the squad. I think Thomas Mueller is a guy that he just looks so happy out there. Just you saw him at the MLS All-Star game. I mean, he's, skill challenges, whatever. He radiates that presence on the field. So look, this one could go either way, to be frank. I mean, on paper, yes, LAFC should potentially win this game if you're going for that. But man, I don't know. I think that Vancouver could definitely put it together and change it up. What's the goal compost on this one? I'm curious. Probably pretty high.
Let's see what we got on this one. So we have the over-under in this particular matchup. 2.5 minus. Yeah, it is high. 3.5. It flips at 3.25. 3.5 is a plus 135, and it goes up from there.
Oh no! I don't like it at all.
Well, I mean, if you go under 2.5, it's a plus 145. So if you think it's going to be like 1-1 and you go plus 145, you should be in decent shape. A plus 2, by the way, if you go under at 2, so basically if you go under at 2.25, you think it's going to be a 1-1 draw, you go to 2.25, you're a plus 200.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
that could be interesting.
Yeah. If you go under 2.25, you're at a plus 200. So that might be where you might sit there and play with it.
I like that. Actually, I don't mind that at all. And what about the Chicago Charlotte game? That's another one that I'm kind of looking at that could be interesting. Obviously, Chicago big loss, Mbokasi out, and he just changes things. I thought that back line was good enough to get this team far this season, and now having to replace a big piece like him is gonna make it difficult. And although Charlotte, man, they can be a little bit of a coin toss sometimes. On the road when people might not think that they do it, that's when they perform. Dean Smith is a interesting fella, and maybe he can get a particular game plan for this one. So what was it looking like over there?
Chicago is a minus 182. Draws a plus 359. Charlotte is a plus 470.
Oh Lord. Oh no. You know what? I take that back. I don't even like the draw anymore. They know something that I don't know. What about the Galaxy Dallas? That would be a good game as well, in terms of perhaps the numbers being a little interesting there.
Believe it or not, right now they're the same numbers as Portland and Seattle. LAG is a plus 114. Draw is a plus 290, and FCD is a plus 200 on the road.
Man, they're not giving us anything. They're not really. They're not giving us anything. No, I mean, and I think that says a lot about where we are right now in the season, where you don't really know what you're getting out of certain teams, and whether it's the Galaxy or Dallas or Seattle and Portland, there's other things that they're playing for. So maybe that's kind of part of it. I will say, though, that I do like the Galaxy over Dallas, and I know that's probably not a popular one there. That's why I thought I was going to get better numbers on that particular game. But I do think that Dallas is a very inconsistent team for me. Yeah. And so I think that the Galaxy at home could potentially win the game, but I'm not getting enough of the juice boxes on that.
Plus 3.5 is a plus 129, by the way. That's where
you know what? I like that 3.5. Okay. Yeah, I like that 3.5. Okay. You could easily exchange games with Dallas in this game. Look, I know that you're just coming off of a 1-1 against San Jose, but that's Classico. You play it differently. it's against Bruce. I mean, it does change things a little bit. So I don't know. I kind of like that 3.5 there for that Galaxy game.
Okay, so there it is. That's what you're staring at. I know that you said you were kicking the tires on some intel on Seattle. What else is going on with the Sounder at Heart and Pulso Sports?
Yeah, so obviously the biggest thing that we have right now is the report that we got as of yesterday that the Sounders are targeting Danish striker Kasper Tankskert. You're better at this with the names, to be quite honest. I absolutely terrorized the pronunciation of some of these European players, but he's currently with Feyenoord Eredivisie side. He is a guy that has a very interesting profile for the Sounders. The way I see it right now is that it is difficult, but there are conversations with the Eredivisie side and the Sounders, because look, right now, if we're looking just at the numbers, whether it's the transfer market or FODMAP, is between 4 million to 3.3 his value.
Yep.
So can you bring him in at a high town level? Can you break it down, whether it's through a loan with potential to buy? Can you maybe break it down so maybe next season you get a bulk of it? I mean, there are ways to come around a player that is also looking for a new horizon, a new league. So can the Sounders use a lot of these mechanisms that, I mean, we've seen Miami do it with top players. We've seen LAFC do it with bigger names. Why not the Sounders be able to bring this particular transfer so it hits the salary cap in the right way, so the transfer is broken down and you're able to bring him in at a high time level player. But I like the fact that the Sounders are out here. At least now we have some evidence that they are looking at specific strikers. He's 26, got 600 minutes in all competitions, scores 5 goals. I think that if you look at the profile of the player, he's very good on the ball. He has some explosiveness in his speed. He could, put her in the box, but he could also create his own shot. There are some very interesting aspects of his game. He was been at Benfica, so he's been at some of the top leagues in Europe. Very interesting player, in my opinion. He's not the only target, though. I'm looking at potentially one more. I was hoping to break him here on your show, but have not gotten the green light just yet. But the Sounders are looking. Sounders are trying to figure out in what way they can, with their limited resources, limited cap space, can bring in a guy that's going to come in and perform, come in and immediately become a contributor. And so this is one of those players that they're targeting. So, interesting there for the team. In terms of what we're doing this week, I'll be on what we learned this week by myself because Jeremiah is not going to be there. So guests to be determined. On Monday, we'll figure out probably kickoff with Loving Scorchers. We have some potential changing in programming. So stay tuned in terms of that. But yeah, man, that's what we got.
109 games at center forward in his career. That's where he has spent the bulk of his time. Can play left wing or right wing. He has done that in the past as well. 11 matches as a central striker, and then he's also played deeper when asked. 5 goals last season, or 5 goals in the Eredivisie and with Feyenoord, multiple comps, 23 matches in 25-26 to date. Was at Hellas Verona in 24-25 and looked like he was one of their leading scorers in their Serie A campaign. 7 goals in 26 appearances for them. Then before that, you mentioned the time at Benfica. 4 goals in 2 seasons there in, as I'm trying to do math quickly here. So 27 and 30, so 27, 39 appearances in 2 seasons. Then you go back even further, and his time at Horsens goes back 21-22, and then back even further from there. He was in the regional leagues in the U19s with his time at Midtjylland in the reserves. So and you had it spot on. His value right now at about $3.5 million. He's under contract until the end of the 28-29 season at Feyenoord. So keep an eye on that. But that once again is just to kind of sit there and spread the value of the asset around for your bookmakers and your accountants. So 26-year-old attack center forward, right-footed player, Kasper Tankstedt out of Kingstead out of Fire. So that is who you're chasing there. As always, my friend, it is great to see you. Great to get all the intel and everything. And we will catch up with you again this time next week, and we will knock it all down one more time. It's always great to see you.
Appreciate you, John.
There he goes, Niko Moreno, Pulso Sports and Sounder at Heart. And he's going to break everything down over there on the West Coast, and we get that intel. Okay. A couple of other pieces of news. Tata Martino is speaking right now, and he is getting through all of the discussions about getting ready for the matchup in Philly. They are leaving tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock-ish or early afternoon to go get up to Philly and play Philadelphia Union. Tomorrow on the show, it is going to be chaos and rapid fire. It is going to be Dave Leno, the play-by-play voice of Philly, and Michael Parkhurst in hour number 1. Hour number 2, Steve Cangelosi, Jaleel Anibaba are going to join us back-to-back in that 10 and 10:15 slots to break down everything from Apple TV. Jaleel got a little excited in the MLS Next showcase when he was paired with our friend AJ Ricketts, and so we'll talk a little MLS Next with Jaleel, and we'll talk a little about what else is on Jaleel Anibaba's mind. We'll get you ready for the weekend as well, and we'll get you prepped up there. Another couple of news and notes. Paul Mullen is set to sign with another EFL club, signing with Rotherham after his Wrexham deal got terminated. That news coming from TalkSport this morning. Also, the FA is updating their rules when it comes to competition. They are going to give a minimum 10-game ban to players found guilty of discrimination under enhanced FA rules. In past seasons, suspensions of between 6 and 12 have been recommended for aggravated breaches, defined as any misconduct, including an express or implied reference to ethnic origin, color, race, nationality, religion, sex, gender reassignment, sexual orientation, or disability. Rules also apply to managers and other officials. And so now enhanced measures are going to impose a standard suspension of at least 10 in these circumstances, close quote. Sanctions of more than 10 matches can be imposed if significant aggravating factors are present, while lesser punishments are also possible if there are mitigating factors and the individual admits the breach at the earliest opportunity. So the FA is modifying their rules. UEFA sources tell TalkSport all 55 member associations have decided to boycott the men's and women's World Cups in protest of Gianni Infantino's FIFA Forward Enterprise plans. UEFA members agreed on an emergency call that began around 2 p.m. today, so that would have been 9 o'clock this morning, our time, that they will not support any FIFA-run tournament. First goes to Martin Ziegler on that one. So that's early news coming across our bow. All right, so getting into the gossip, rumor, and the innuendo, and since we already talked about what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it, we'll get into all of the gossip and where folks might be heading or where they might not be heading. So we'll find out what the rundown is with all of that. So Fulham have agreed on a deal for Gonzalo Garcia and Cesar Palacios. I think the total there was $10 million. Senny Laman's returning early to Manchester United training. Maxence Lacroix has now become Chelsea's newest pickup. De Zerbi is also hinting at a new Spurs transfer. Rashford has bid adios to Barca, and that gets us to where we are. So now, replacements and such. Real Madrid are confident of reaching an agreement with Rodri after holding positive talks, according to AS. Personal terms understood to be in place now that the Liga side's focused on agreeing on the transfer fee. City had already rejected an initial approach. Madrid remain optimistic a deal can be completed. City also closing in on signing Ayub Buwadi, according to Nicolas Shira. Buwadi, 18, is, quote, one step away from leaving Lille to join City. Personal terms already agreed. Transfer fee not reported. Lille demanding in the neighborhood of €80 million for Buwadi. Inter Milan ready to step up their pursuit of Liverpool's Curtis Jones if David Fratesi leaves the club, according to Gazzetta. So keep an eye on that. Juve closing in on signing Leverkusen attacker Karim Alibegovic, according to Fabrizio Romano. Starred in the tournament for Bosnia and Herzegovina. Final negotiations with Juve. €35 million transfer fee negotiated between the two clubs. Alibegovic is only 18, spent last season on loan at RB Salzburg, 9 goals in 28 matches. PSG are making, quote, good progress, end quote, in their pursuit of Parma keeper Zion Suzuki, according to Foot Mercato. Contact established between all parties involved. PSG now keen to make an official offer. Suzuki, starred for Japan in the 26 World Cup, could be sent straight out on loan should he be signed, with Matvei Safonov likely to remain the first choice keeper. Juve have already had a bid for Suzuki turned down by Parma, potentially opening the door for PSG. And done deals. Maxence Lacroix is now under contract through 31-32. Monaco have signed Matisse Ablin from Nantes, forming a line with Valerian Balogun, possibly. The 23-year-old Ablin signed a 5-year deal without disclosing the transfer fee, which is reportedly 25 million euro. PSG made a breakthrough in their pursuit of Monaco's Magnus Akliush. Club-to-club agreement now in final stages. That's from Fabrizio Romano, who also reports Fenerbahce and Galatasaray are both keen on signing Rafa Leao this summer. AC Milan are not willing to sanction an exit for anything less than 50 million euro. Nicolas Schura, Madrid, ATLUTD have opened talks with Spurs over Cuti Romero on a permanent transfer. David Ornstein, Forest have had a 20 million euro offer for Israeli international Anand Khalili, rejected by Royal Union Saint-Gilloise. Standard, Crystal Palace pursuit of Augsburg defender Krislain Matsima has hit a roadblock. That's from the Standard. Football Insider, newly promoted Ipswich could swoop in for Standard Liège defender Henry Lawrence. Sky, Sunderland are in talks with Toulouse for defender Diane Metali, who is valued around 25 million pounds by the Ligue 1 club. Club Brugge set to sign South Korea international Lee Han-byum from Midtjylland for 9 million euro. Sky is reporting on Leon Bailey. Hull City edging closer to signing the Villa winger, 1 year left on his deal. And Hull also working on a deal to sign Mert Komur from Augsburg. The Premier League side have already had positive talks with the camp of the Germany U21 International. That is from Sky Germany. So now going into and seeing what is up with our friends Ben Jacobs and Tom Bogert. And we will let you know Jacobs was one of the ones along with Ziegler to break down what was going on with the member association meeting. Forest have shown an interest in Dynamo Kyiv center back Taras Mikhavko, also on the radar of Bournemouth and Everton. Jean-Matteo Bohoya's future, keep an eye on him. According to Jacobs, Eintracht swingers attracting interest from Roma. English and Saudi clubs also tracking the 21-year-old. Fulham once again 2 deals. Palacios set to join for around 8.5. Gonzalo Garcia for 35 million. Both moves driven by Arbeloa. So 2 players, 43.5 million pounds. Real Madrid to Fulham. Arne Slot, one of several candidates with Al Ahly, with Matthias Geisler set to join Newcastle. Slot wants to prioritize a move within Europe. Tyler Fredrickson has joined Lausanne Sport for Manchester United on a 3-year deal. Understand it includes a high sell-on clause and a buyback. We mentioned Geisler, and it looks like the UEFA is in talks to put forward a candidate to rival Gianni Infantino at the presidential election. It looks like Nasser Al-Khelaïfi is gaining significant support, as reported by TalkSport and Ben Jacobs 2 weeks ago. Those close to Khelaïfi insist he has no aspiration to stand nor give up his roles at PSG and BN. And they're trying to now figure out who it could be that would be that kind of competition. Back on the 14th, backing that candidate, it might be Darius Mioduski, who has been floated by execs. So Darius Mioduski, let's see, what is Mioduski's background here? So as we sit there and we plow through all of the names and all the things, and Legia owner, the owner of Legia Warsaw, Darius Mioduski. So Poland would favor Mioduski. Victor Montaliani has been touted outside of a possible successor. Sources close to Montaliani had argued his focus is on being reelected as CONCACAF president, but it's relatively common knowledge that the Canadian has aspirations to be FIFA president one day. That comes from TalkSport. Patrice Motsepe is another name intent on being FIFA president one day. He is unlikely to go head-to-head with his close ally, instead preferring to wait until 31 in the hopes of getting an endorsement during an election that Infantino cannot stand in. So that's the rundown of those individuals when it comes to the moving and multiple chairs that are attached to wanting to possibly go up against Gianni Infantino in an election cycle. So we'll see what happens there. Tom Bogert, we mentioned Atletico Paranaense. The Macania move to Rangers is now official. That happened this morning. and it's now 4.5 million pounds, and that was brought forward to the table. And the announcement was made by Rangers this morning. So let me double check quickly. I think that literally it was no real surprises, but once again, the numbers from Rangers official and Macania. So if I could, Macania. Oletu Macania, people. That's what we're looking for. So confirmed as of an hour ago, 4-year deal with an option for an additional year subject to international clearance. So that is the rundown. Oletu Macania has got the thank you message an hour ago, reaching the transfer agreement with Rangers, and so now officially official. Oletu Macania is now going to, and that might be another reason that they tried to bring back Kai Wagner as quickly as possible, was because they were losing Macania, and they ended up losing him to Rangers for, I think, $3.5 million. So that's the latest there. So once again, reminder tomorrow, it is rapid fire. Dave Leno, Michael Parkhurst, Steve Cangelosi, Jalil Alibaba, getting ready for the weekend, all the things. Atlanta heading to Philly. We'll catch up with Dave and find out what the Philadelphia point of view is right now and what they're looking forward to in this matchup against Atlanta at the bottom of the table in the Eastern Conference. We'll have the early reports on opposition research tomorrow morning for you on SDH AM. Don't forget, Intersection tonight on 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. That is Jason and that is Noel. Once again, 10 to 11, 92.9 The Game tonight. Don Garber today, Eddie Howe, Sports and Entertainment, all the rest. You've got WAFCON on all the BNs as well, and so you can catch up with that today, all day long here in the group stage. So for everybody here at SDH, thanks for dropping by as you always do. It's great to actually have a computer and electricity that functions. Amazing. Amazing stuff. So UEFA is doing what now? Yeah, UEFA is just mad. And they claim that they're going to be boycotting the World Cup. Sure. Literally, these two are going to be in the sandbox, and they're going to throw sand at each other for a while. So do not be surprised by anything that you see. Just take it for what it is. Play it forward. Just file it away, write it down, move forward. We'll keep an eye on that. We'll keep an eye on what's going on in Providence. We'll keep an eye on what's going on in and around everything in the soccer world. It is the end of the show. That means one thing. I get to do this. Mucha Plati, I'll play it safe. Back at you again. Intersection tonight on 92.9 The Game in about 10 and a half hours. Back here in less than 22 hours, like 21 and a half hours. We'll get you ready on a Freestyle Friday. Mucha Plati, I'll play it safe. We'll catch up with you soon.